What's up, guys? Welcome to Among the Fence. My name is Aaron, and I will be your lovely assistant today. And if it's your first time seeing one of my videos, I'd like to welcome you to my channel where I do music reviews, mostly in the metal genre, and we could just chill and talk about all the things that we love or hate. And if you have anything you want me to review, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what it is, and it will be featured on a Request Wednesday. And if you do that, or you just happen to like what you see here, don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell icon. That way you get notified when I do upload. That way you don't miss out if you leave a request or if you just want to help support my channel. And for today, we're going to be talking about the self-titled album Erra by the band Erra. Erra is a progressive metalcore band from Alabama, started around 2009, and the self-titled album is their 5th studio album. And this is a band that I pretty much put on a pedestal. I'd say it's really tough to decide which one's my favorite. Any given day, it could be August Burns Red or Erra or Coheed. It's always up in the air, but they are definitely really high up there on my rankings list. Almost every album they put out is absolutely amazing. So when I saw that they released Snowblood, I was pretty excited to see they're finally doing some new music. I mean, it had been almost 3 years, and normally they only do 2-year gaps. And their last album that came out with, Neon, didn't really, it wasn't received quite as well as Drift or Augments or any of their previous stuff. It was less music and guitar riff driven and more vocal lyrically driven. And they just decided to go in a different direction with it. And it wasn't like super crazy and different compared to some of their old stuff. It was just different enough to where die-hard, riff-hungry, heavy fans just weren't really that into it. I personally, I loved it. I would definitely say it's one of their weaker albums. And going into this album, I was a little scared that they might continue that sound a little bit further instead of trying to find a good hybrid of the two different sounds that they've kind of created over the years. And when they released Snowblood, which is the first song on this album, and I believe it was the first single to come out as well, maybe it was the second one, I'm not too sure, but when they released that song, I was super excited about it because they found a way to come up with a hybrid of their two sounds that they kind of have made over the years. And Snowblood, I think I gave it like a 4.8 out of 5. Has fantastic riffs, amazing melodies in the background, and also has JT singing some clean vocals, which normally this band is made up of JT KV and Jesse Cash, who JT does the distorted vocals and Jesse does the clean, really high pitched screaming vocals. So it was nice to kind of hear them experimenting different. And the second song on the album, Gungrave, starts out really kind of with a thrashy intro, which a lot of people says it reminds them of August Burns Red's Barbarian, which, I mean, honestly, it's pretty dang close. But it has a more atmosphere to it, especially in like the pre-chorus, which explodes into a beautiful sounding chorus with Jesse. And the breakdown, like halfway through the second verse, was kind of unexpected. And there's like a little duet thing going on between Jesse and JT, which they've done for the past 2 albums, and they just get better and better at it. And it kind of reminds me why I love Erra so much, is because no matter how many times I hear that, I still love it just the same. And the bridge is very open and kind of peaceful before going into a breakdown that I wasn't really that impressed with. But I mean, overall, it has an absolutely insane riff going on throughout this entire song, and the outro is just absolutely heavy as well. The song Divisionary, which I'm assuming is about like being addicted to technology, or at least your phones. I mean, about 90% of us spend about 90% of our time on our phones, especially with lyrics like technology is God and God speaks, humanity is secondary to me, which I'm assuming it's like, you know, you're hanging out with your friends or your family and you're just spending all your time on your phone instead of being in the present moment, enjoying the actual human interaction you could be experiencing. And then the chorus says, small black screens are your only God now. So yeah, it's basically you're addicted to your phone and social media and stuff like that. And it has a very fast riff that plays under Jesse's clean vocals that is backed by JT's distorted vocals, which gives the song just so much depth, especially in the verse. And the song Electric Twilight has this very stellar, kind of colorful arpeggio thing going on. and it rockets into the chorus, which is like it's so fat. It literally feels like you're going from like one galaxy to another. And the imagery from the music alone is just absolutely unbelievable. And the riff that comes at the end of verse 2 is just, it's absolutely amazing. This might be my favorite song on this album. I got like 2 or 3 that really stood out to me. And it reminds me a lot of Drift, mostly because of the little colorful, like I said, that arpeggio thing that they got going on. It has a lot of a Drift feel to it. House of Glass really showcases this band's guitar and drum capabilities. It has this really crazy riff that stays out in front of vocals that sound a little bit more raw in this song compared to the other songs. And I'm assuming, again, it's about how the pandemic was handled. And I mean, it's like a house of glass and it's very fragile, and it's just how things just weren't really taken in the right direction and how things just kind of fell apart. And it is one of the heavier songs on this album. I'd be willing to say it's pretty close to the heaviest. It's at least the second heaviest. And then the song Scorpion Hymn, which is also pretty dang heavy. I'm assuming it's about someone who's deceitful and is not really a good person. You can kind of speculate who it might be about while you're listening to it. And this one has more of a just straight up hardcore feel to it. And it's super heavy. And even JT's vocals get extremely nasty, considering he's always usually doing distorted vocals. They just get just downright nasty. You can hear some different like vocal fries going on, which is kind of cool to hear him kind of going into those territories a little bit more. If you're going to have your heavy songs, of course, you got to have your slow songs, which Erra doesn't really do all that often, but it was kind of nice to see him in this album, like the song Shadow Autonomous, which has this, again, a very dynamic riff with very slow vocals from Jesse and JT, and the riff throughout this whole song is extremely addictive. Every time it comes around and you hear it, it just gets you more and more pumped. And the lyrics are beautiful and they have great emotion, especially in the bridge. And it has an acoustic outro, which was kind of weird and unique at the same time. And then another slow song, Vanished Canvas, has a slow intro, which it has almost like a storytelling vibe to it. Like it invites you to sit down and listen to this story from Jesse. And then in the chorus, which is full of passion and emotion, also invites you to open up your heart and feel heartbreak and anxiety and just be very, very vulnerable. And it has a lot of brilliant melodies in it, tons of atmosphere, and it has moments that are just really breathtaking. Lunar Halo starts out with this kind of like flanger phaser effect on Jesse's vocals, which gives him like a robotic kind of sound. And it has a riff that just goes up and down. It has very ascending, descending kind of sound to it, which it matches up beautifully with JT's vocals when he kind of flows with the rhythm of it really well. And the chorus doesn't really let up in terms of the music, but the vocals are now replaced with Jesse's. So it gives it kind of like this feeling of tranquility in a way. And the bridge brings back that vocal effect, but this time it's backed by Jesse's clean vocals. You got both of them in there. So it gives it a little bit more depth and just a little bit more dynamics to that sound. And it has a really, honestly, a beautiful guitar solo, which Erra, I wouldn't say they're known for the guitar solos. They're probably more known for like their riffs. But when they do decide to play a guitar solo, and even when they go fast, they don't just sound like a robot playing a guitar solo. They still keep a lot of emotion. And when they slow it down, like they do in Lunar Halo, that emotion is just amplified. And the lyrics are absolutely beautiful, tons of metaphors. And honestly, Lunar Halo is probably my favorite one. It's really hard to pick. There's a lot of good songs in this album. And the song Adolin, I believe that's how it's pronounced, Adolin, something like that, has a very spirited guitar passage in the intro that flows well and gets really heavy in the verse. And it kind of reminds me of Breach, which is the first song off of Neon, specifically just that guitar riff. And it's the only track that features just JT's vocals, which is all distorted, which is pretty cool because it breaks up the monotony of having this two vocalists working together. And even though they do switch it up quite a bit, they'll go from one doing a verse and the other doing a chorus in a song, and they'll change it around where the other one does the verse and the other one does the chorus, or even they'll do like a duet thing. So they do a good job at keeping it dynamic and not really just overdone. But just having a song with just one of them in it, it's absolutely amazing. And JT brings it. And this song slaps, and it slaps hard. Remnant starts out with the drums and a riff that honestly kind of sounds like gunfire. And the riff has this very dynamic sound to it. And both the vocalists in this have more of an aggression to them, which is kind of interesting because JT, being the distorted vocals, usually brings all the aggression, and Jesse kind of brings the calming kind of mellowness to the song. But in this case, it's kind of interesting to hear that they're both kind of fierce in their performance, which again adds a little bit more of a dynamic and just kind of breaks up the monotony of the songs a little bit. And the guitar solo kind of during, right after the bridge, made me feel a little nostalgic because it has like a little bit of a Joe Satriani feel to it. It took me back to when I was younger and I used to listen to Joe Satriani a lot. And it just has that same kind of airy, fast, lasery sound to it. The closing song on the album, Memory Fiction, which features only Jesse, and it starts out with just a piano and Jesse singing. It's one of the more beautiful songs that I've heard. And again, it's kind of a slower song, and it kind of has like a slow pop punk kind of feel to it at first. It just, honestly, the only difference is it has a really sick guitar riff that gets kind of groovy. And I believe it's about remembering loved ones or things that you loved, or even just moments and experiences and just different situations you've had in your life that have impacted you in some way, and just kind of reminiscing on it and trying to understand what you could really learn from it. And it's a beautiful closing song. It's an amazing theme for a closing song, and it really just completes the album and wraps it up into a pretty little bow. It's a fantastic closing song. So I can't really find anything wrong with this album. I've tried, because I don't know if it holds up quite as well to me personally as Augment or Drift. I would say it's definitely better than Neon as a whole. I do like a couple more of the songs off of Neon more just because I've listened to it and had time to grow on me, so I can't really give it a comparison in that sense. But as far as Drift and Augment, I don't know if this one's better or not. It might be the same. It's so hard because I want to give this album a really high rating, but at the same time, I'm not sure if it's up to the other two, which are like two of my favorite albums of all time. Like every song in this album has a really cool riff, a guitar solo, has fantastic vocals, everything's fit together perfectly. There's not a single thing I would change on any one of these songs. I just don't know if I get as much enjoyment out of it as I do the other albums. And I've listened to this album a lot. I got the record the day before it came out, and I listened to it almost nonstop. And then when I was doing the review, I listened to it like 6 times, wrote up my review, and listened to it like another 3 times. So it's really, like, I mean, I've gotten its listens in, and I'm not tired of it yet, but I just, like I said, I don't know if I enjoy it as much as the other two. So with all that said, I gotta give Erra by Erra a 9.7 out of 10. And this is one of those reviews and ratings where it might change over time. It might go up, it might go down. Like I said, I wanted to give it a high rating, and I did give it a pretty damn high rating. But the other two are practically 10s for me. So, and I'm kind of feeling like I like those a little bit more. The songwriting and the musical aspect of Drift is just a little bit higher to me. And the riffs that are in Augment and the passion and the fierceness in it, again, is just a little bit higher to me. But this is a good mixture of the two of those, I believe. The two different sounds where they kind of mellow it out and focus more on vocals, and the sound where they focus more on the music itself. This is beautiful. Like I said, I don't think it could get any better, but I want to know what you guys think. If you've listened to their self-titled album, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what you thought. If you haven't, go ahead and give a couple of these songs a listen and let me know what you would rate it. And again, if you have anything you want me to review, don't forget to leave it down below so it'll be featured on a Request Wednesday. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the little bell icon. That way you don't miss out on any of my future uploads and help support my channel. And I hope you guys all have a good rest of your day or night. Whenever you happen to be watching this, please stay safe out there. And I will talk at you next time.
I was just an ignorant kid relying on my parents' said to save me.